How's it going, guys? Winter Kills here, and welcome back to another week of Locals feature matches. This is from May 15th Locals, and we have here in round 1, Ogdatic Orcust versus Paleozoic Frog. This one is a very grindy match, as you can tell just by the length of the video, and bear with me as I learn and memorize what some of these Ogdatic cards do here, because I really haven't read any of them up until today. I've actually just been rewatching this first part of the game so I can actually know what's going on. So I believe here our opponent has started with Nunu sending itself from hand to basically Foolish a Dark Reptile from the deck. And then he is now going to Foolish the Zoha. And then Zoha is activating its effect, where if it's in the grave, you can send a card from his hand to the grave to add it back to hand. I believe he's pitched Aron, King of the Ogdatic, or the Ogdatic King. And then he's going to use Nunu's effect to bring itself back from the grave while he controls only Ogdatic or no monsters. And then he's going to normal summon Zoha, and then since he has 2 monsters on the field, he's going to use Aron's effect in the grave to tribute 2 monsters to special summon it. And Aron, King of the Abyss, as it was called, or Aron the Ogdatic King now. It's kind of like one of the main boss monsters for the deck. It does not have really half bad effects. The first thing that it does is basically... if your opponent adds a card or cards from their deck to their hand, or just adds a card to their hand, period, except during the draw phase or damage step, you can send 1 random card from their hand to the graveyard. And it says if a monster or monsters your opponent controls is sent to the graveyard by a card effect, you can add a lighter dark reptile monster from your deck or grave to your hand, except itself. So a pretty strong card, if you ask me. And then I believe here he is using... the effect of Zoha in the grave, where it says if it's sent from the field to the grave to special summon from the grave, activate this effect, your opponent draws a card, and if they do, you add an Ogdatic monster from their deck to your hand, except itself. Then each player sends 1 card from their hand to the graveyard. So he'll get a search here, but his opponent will get to draw a card, but that's going to trigger Aron, which unfortunately is met with an impermanence. And our opponent does get a discard of a Ronin Totem, which is kind of good. A lot of people could argue that's one of the main drawbacks of the Ogdatic strategy, is it does have a few effects that actually give the opponent some cards in the process, which is not so great. But, you know, so long as you can properly manage that with the card effects, like Aron in this case, was going to basically neutralize that advantage that would have been gained, but he did have the impermanence for it, and unfortunately that did end his turn there. I don't think he maybe could have done much past that, besides just setting 1. Our Paleozoic player, standard turn here, assembling Toad and setting 4 and ending his turn. And now we'll see what our Ogdatic player is going to do here. Toad is not so much of a threat here. Of course, can be easily outed. It unfortunately has to be outed in the battle phase. Don't really see another way it can be outed unless he has some other effect that he can activate to bait and maybe remove that Toad. But it looks like he's going to now activate, I think, Naya, I believe. Send this card from hand to the graveyard. Send a light reptile monster from your deck to the grave. So Naya and Nunu basically in-hand Foolish Burials by discarding themselves. One sends dark reptiles and the other sends light reptiles. So yeah, I'm learning these cards as we go, folks. Bear with me. So it looks like he's going to activate the Naya. And that's probably an attempt to bait the Toad, which he does not take. So he's just going to go into the battle phase. And with Aron, run over that Toad for 300. Our Paleo player will get to add back in the process. Of course, we'll add back Swap Frog, I believe. Our Ogdatic player, not seeing much of the Orcust engine at the moment. Looks like he's just going to set 1. And that may just do it for his turn here. I know a lot of the Ogdatic monsters as well have the tribute effects, as of course we're seeing here. So he's going to tribute that set monster. I believe for Curse the Ogdatic Light. Says this card in your graveyard, you contribute 1 monster, special summon this card. Then your opponent can special summon 1 monster from their graveyard, but negate its effects. If this card is special summoned, you can target 1 level or lower Ogdatic monster in your graveyard. Special summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field. So he's going to use that to bring out this card. I'm actually not sure which card it is. It looks like, yeah, he's bringing back out Naya. If this is normal or special summon, you can add an Ogdatic spell or trap. And I believe he's adding Ogdatic Water Lily. This is like my favorite card in the deck. I just love the artwork on it. Very nice looking card. It says send a reptile monster from your deck to the graveyard. Then you have 5 or more reptile monsters with different names in your graveyard. Special summon 1 reptile monster from your graveyard. So it's a foolish and, of course, a reborn as well. Kind of nice if you ask me. And, of course, Snake Rain making its competitive debut, if you will, in this deck. Finally a decent reptile strategy, am I right? And, of course, Snake Rain makes Ogdatic Water Lily that much better because, obviously, you can load up your graveyard with tons and tons of reptiles. So he's going to send one first off of Water Lily, and I don't believe he has enough engrave at this point to activate its secondary effect, and of course it checks on resolution, so you know, if he sends one and that makes it the 5th, then he can activate the other effect to revive one. But it looks like we're going to see him special summon out another big Ogdatic monster, and I believe he's summoning out the Queen alongside the King. How fitting. So it looks like on the summon of the Queen, we are going to see a Torrential Tribute, which is unfortunate because that's going to clear both of his boss monsters and allow our Paleo player to get back a add from the grave off of Toad. And we're also going to see an end phase Trap Trick as well, I think for, not Canadia, but I think Olenoids. I think Olenoids is the Spell and Trap pop, basically kind of like an MST, if you will. So I think we'll see him activate that here, probably to suss out that last back row, and yep, that's exactly what we'll see. Hitting a Set Forbidden Droplet, and an end phase Scapegoat, I believe. Or at least going to try to activate Scapegoat. I don't think we're going to see a Scapegoat, actually. For some reason, Scapegoat not being activated. I'm not entirely sure why. But either way, he's still going to start with Swap Frog. It's going to be met with Ghost Ogre, interestingly enough. Hand Trap would not be expecting to see right now, but Ghost Ogre is going to clear it off the field. And I guess at this point, it's going to make it so you can't really assemble Toad here. Or if he can, he's going to have to work a little harder to do so. So he will send, of course, a Ronin. And see what else he does here. Looks like he's not going to do much else. He's just going to set one. Or I don't think even set any, and just pass it over back to our Ogdatic player. But if you look at the Ogdatic Queen and King, just by reading their effects, they have these little, other effects that kind of mitigate, again, some of the downsides of some of the smaller Ogdatic monsters. You know, ones that are letting your opponent draw. Of course, King can sort of snipe a card out of the hand when they do that. And Queen, you have cards that allow your opponent to revive ones from the grave. And Queen can punish that as well. So it's nice that they have these sort of in-engine boss monsters that can come out somewhat easily and, again, mitigate and neutralize the advantage, that you would be giving your opponent. So we're going to see Water Lily activate, and, of course, at this point, he does definitely have 5 or more reptiles, so he's going to bring out Curse, and Curse is going to attempt to activate its effect, where I believe it says if this card is special summon, you can target a level 4 Ogdatic monster in the graveyard, special summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field. And I think he's going to bring out Zoha, an attempt to overlay with Naya. I believe that's Naya. So we're going to attempt to overlay. And for Rika, the Queen, which is a pretty nice, splashable rank 4 that the deck can play, because it can be tributed off of King and Queen, to trigger its effect to summon out the Sacred Tree Beast Hyperton, which is something I was playing for a second in Earth Machine, but I don't think I'm playing anymore. But really cool, little negate they can access via tributing off that rank 4. It's kind of nice, actually. So I believe we saw the Nunu bring itself back, and now we're seeing Alarit get summoned. Says this card in your graveyard, you contribute 1 monster, special summon this card. Then your opponent can add 1 monster from their graveyard to their hand. If this card is special summon, you can target 2 of your banished monsters, including a reptile monster, return them to the graveyard. So I believe that ended up recycling Nunu and Naya for our Ogdatic player, and our Paleo player was able to grab back a Swap Frog there, which is unfortunate, but our Ogdatic player did get some resources back as well, so it's not so bad. So we'll see him make a ding, send off that set Scapegoat, and clear the remaining Paleozoic monster on the board, and that will do it for his turn. Has a pretty loaded graveyard, though, at this point, but we're going to see the normal summon of Swap Frog. That's going to send, it looks like, another Swap Frog. Swap's going to summon itself again by pitching Ronin Totem. So really just loading up the graveyard right now. to assemble a bit of a push here. I imagine we'll see. But Ding could pose a bit of a problem here. Of course, could protect from battle or destruction just by detaching. And could also have the potential to maybe turn into a Zeus at some point if it does stick around. But we're going to see him summon the Ronin by banishing Swap. We're not going to see a Toad here. We're going to see a Akashic Magician. The unfortunate placement of that Ding is going to be punished by Akashic. It's going to bounce everything it points to on summon. And then we're going to see him go for 2 more Ronins to go for a Toad and get in for 17 and 22. Putting up that Omni Negate on board, and looks like setting 1. And I think that will probably do it for his turn. Our Ogdatic player, it looks like he drew Ghost Ogre for turn and immediately finds use for it in the standby phase on Toad when it tries to activate to summon out Dupe Frog from the deck. So Ghost Ogre, not like, I think on many people's radar as being like one of the better hand traps, but finding a lot of value in this particular matchup. I find Ghost Ogre is usually pretty strong against most rogue or control matchups, kind of like we're seeing here against Paleozoic. But now we're going to see that Nunu come out, of course, while he controls no monsters, and that recycling effect from Alarit coming in very clutch here. The Nunu is going to be tribute fodder for Curse. Curse is going to allow him to summon 1 back, unfortunately, but Curse will also allow him to get a search of an Ogdatic spell or trap. No, I believe this card is special summoned. You can target level 4 Ogdatic monster graveyard special summon it. Okay, so he's using that to bring out Naya, which is then in turn going to search the Water Lily. So Naya is the spell and trap searcher. Curse is the monster reborn at the cost of your opponent getting a card. Okay. Starting to memorize these here, folks. Bear with me. I'm really trying. I'm having to go back and rewatch the parts of this video over and over again, just so I can correctly commentate what's going on without being completely lost. So it looks like he's going to tribute both those monsters on field, the Naya and the Curse. Play Ogdatic Water Lily. That is going to end up sending Ogdoabyss, the Ogdatic Overlord, which is the big boss monster of the strategy. Forget about King and Queen. You got this guy. He is the deity of the Abyss, as he was called in the OCG. Says that this card in your graveyard, contribute 3 monsters, special summon it. So he's going to avoid that hefty tribute cost by using Abyss's effect, or not Abyss's effect, but Water Lily's effect on resolution just to revive anyone from the grave. And then using its effect on field to send all monsters on the field that were not special summoned from the graveyard, which will not include his own king, which is nice because a lot of the big boss monsters will pretty much always be summoned from the grave. So it's nice that it has that clause on it. So you don't just end up losing a lot of your boss monsters for resolving that effect. So the only thing that will stick around is the Toad, which is not such a big deal, especially since his effects are negated at this point. And he did add one off of the dupe, so we're gonna see Aaron activate to punish that add. He did add swap, and the swap gets hit right out of the hand. Our Ogdatic player is probably pretty happy to see that. He is the American sniper, if you will. And now we're going to see our Ogdatic player follow up with a normal summon here. So he's yet to do that. He's going to normal summon Zoha. Zoha is going to attack into the Toad. Toad is going to get to recycle another water here. It's going to be add back that swap, unfortunately, that he just discarded. You hate to see that. But then he's going to attempt to swing in here, I believe, for 28... or 25 and 31. I have to go back and check to see if he's actually taking the damage or if he's going to block damage. But that will be a lot of damage here if he doesn't block. It'll drop him down to 21, which of course is not game, but maybe it's best to hold some of those life points. But we're going to see a trap trick. That's going to bring out Dynamiscus from the grave. And then we're also going to see a Ice Dragon's Prison as well. That's also going to bring out Olenoids and prove to be an excellent removal card here since everything is reptile. So the Ice Dragon's Prison is going to find a lot of value. I think he ended up banishing Curse and the Ogdatic Overlord. Even though that card's not really a threat at all in the field right now, our Paleozoic player is going to feel the need to just banish that one outright. So yeah, it looks like he did not block the damage because I assume he would have killed one of the Paleozoic monsters, not leaving him with any free Xyz fodder at that point. So he did take the damage there, I'm assuming. And then we'll see in main phase 2, the Queen gets summoned. And as a result, that's going to trigger Zoha's effect, allowing his opponent to get a draw, him a search of an Ogdatic monster, and then he'll have to discard that card. Well, each player will have to discard one card. In this case, he's going to add Nunu, immediately discard it, and that's going to trigger the Queen's effect. Since he's sent to the grave, he'll get to bring back a lighter dark reptile. I believe it's a lighter dark reptile. Yeah, lighter dark reptile monster from the graveyard. That will just summon it back to the field. That summons out the king. And that will do it for his turn. So he has the hand rip from the king and a potential search as well, or summon. No, just a search. And then a potential revive as well. If he sends, if a monster is sent from your opponent's hand or deck to the graveyard, he can special summon a later dark reptile monster. Now, I suppose he could also bring Ogdatic Overlord out with that, but that really wouldn't be too much of a threat at all, considering all monsters our Paleozoic player controls right now have been special summoned from the graveyard. So yeah, not really going to come in too clutch right now. But since he did summon from the grave off that Ronin Totem, that will trigger Queen's effect, which will allow him to just send one monster to the grave. So he has a send and a hand rip when the king and queen are paired together. And then I think he is going to get to activate King's effect here, which says this card in your graveyard should be 2 summon. If your opponent adds a card to their hand, that's the hand rip monster your opponent controls is sent to the graveyard by card effect, add a later dark reptile. Okay, so had to read through that wall of text there. So he will get to search since the Ronin Totem was sent. So king and queen working, obviously, as you would expect, working very well together. And he does have the materials for an Xyz summon, rank 2. He will go into the Opabinia, which is going to detach and search him a Paleozoic trap card, I believe. And also, I believe you can activate Paleozoic traps from a hand at this current point. And that also, since he did add, is going to trigger King's effect to allow him to take one out of his hand, since he did just add a card to the hand. But our Paleo player is going to chain a Dynamiscus in hand, and he's going to get to summon a Dynamiscus from grave. And it looks like he's pitching, I'm not sure what that trap that he ended up discarding there, but he will discard that for cost for Dynamiscus. And he's going to now resolve King here to be able to rip a card from the hand. So we'll see, and he's going to end up banishing the King as well with the Dynamiscus. And he's going to take a Lilith out of the hand. And I believe this is going to now trigger Queen's effect to revive one, if I am correct here. And that's going to revive, looks like, Curse. And we'll see whether or not he wants to actually use Curse's effect. It doesn't look like he is going to. So we'll just end on Queen right now and Curse. We're going to see the normal summon of Swap Frog, which is pretty strong here. And I don't think we're seeing Swap Frog effect activate. He might not really have any targets left at this point, which wouldn't be surprising. This game has been going on for quite some time, as you can tell. Almost 20 minutes in, and we're in game 1 here still. Yeah, this is definitely a really grindy match, like I said it was going to be. He's going to overlay into Mannequin Cat here. Nice little spicy tech, if you will, rank 2. Basically allow him to detach to target a monster in his opponent's grave and special summon it. Then if a monster is special summoned to the opponent's field, while he controls that monster, he can target a face-up monster the opponent controls and special summon one monster with the same type or attribute from hand, deck, or grave. So he's going to summon a Dark from the grave. Looks like he summoned Nunu. And that's going to trigger the effect, or, well, not trigger the effect, but summon, rather, Lilith. Lilith is going to run over Nunu for some damage, and then we're going to see main phase 2, Lilith effect activate, revealing Trap Trick, Compulse, and Ice Dragon's Prison. And he'll get one of those to the field directly set. And we'll see which one he got. Ice Dragon's Prison would probably be one of the better ones to get, because that could remove 2. Yes, they can be recycled thanks to Alarit. In fact, really glad to see that the deck has a card like Alarit to help recover from something like Ice Dragon's Prison, on top of, you know, your own cards being banished as a result of their own effects and things like that. It's like Nunu getting banished after it leaves the field when it's summoned back from the grave using its effect. But we're going to see Curse and Queen get put together for an Ixie Summon a Dingirsu. 2 level 8s onto the board. We're going to see Mannequin Cat trigger. And we're also going to see Compulse get chained. So that's going to summon out Dynamiscus as well. And also summon another Lilith from the deck. So the advantage is snowballing here for our Paleozoic player. Getting lots of bodies onto the field at this point. And probably just assembling Link fodder here, I would imagine. Our Ogdatic player is pretty low on life. Both players pretty low on life points, I would say, at this point. But starting to get some advantage back in his favor. We're going to see a Foolish Burial now. And Foolish Burial is going to send what looks to be Orcust Nightmare. So the first time we're seeing any Orcust cards, it looks like. And this Ogdatic Orcust list, I know people watching this probably thinking it's Cap. You know, where are the Orcust cards? It's in the title, but here they are 20 minutes in. So we're going to see him normal summon Zoha. Nightmare is going to activate its effect, targeting Zoha to boost it up by 8 since he sent the World Legacy World Wand. World Wand's going to banish itself to bring out Nightmare. Classic little Orcust combo, linking the Zoha and the Nightmare into Galatea. So this could grab him the orchestrated crescendo. Oh my god, I'm tripping over my words here. Such a long commentary already. So it looks like he is going to use Galatea, recycle World Wand, and going to set Crescendo. And of course, thanks to Wand, Nightmare has been put back into the grave to basically do the same little follow-up next turn. You know, banish Wand, or banish Nightmare, send Wand. Wand summons back the Nightmare, and then with any other Dark can get access to the Galatea. So we're going to see him attempt to enter the battle phase here. And we're going to see him chain Lilith as he reveals double Compulse, Ice Dragon's Prison. Still some very, very solid cards to have right now. Any one of them. And that one on closest to the deck will be the card that gets set to the field. And still in battle phase, he's just going to run over the Paleozoic Dynamiscus. And can't really get over the other 2 Xyz monsters right now. And that's going to do it for his turn. Not really a whole lot that could be done. I don't think he wanted to use the effect of Zoha at that point, especially with how much advantage his opponent already has. Opabinia is going to be met with Crescendo, Negate, and Banish. And now we're going to see Ice Dragon's Prison. And in response, we're going to see Olenoids get brought back out, and he's going to target Nightmare and Galatea, which has got to hurt here. And I imagine this is probably almost game at this point. It's got to almost just be game here. We're going to see Mannequin Cat activate. That's going to bring back out, I think, Naya. And that's going to bring with it Lilith. Lilith is going to run it over, and with it, everything else attacking. And we're going to see ourselves finally get to a Game 2 situation, where I want to mention, if you guys are shopping on Imperium Duelist, please do not forget to use the discount code I have, Winterkill, sent off at checkout, when you're buying any of their amazing mats, deck boxes, dice, sleeves, etc. So check them out at the link below. And if you guys are buying anything on TCG Player, please do not forget to use my affiliate link. If you guys shop and check out using that link, a small bit of the revenue from your purchase goes right back in the channel and helps out a ton. So here in Game 2, we're going to see him start with Girsu. Probably nice to see the Girsu here. So we're seeing much more Orcust cards this time around than we are Ogdatic cards. Probably prefer to see a mix, but we're just going to see Galatea and a set Crescendo. So like polar opposite as to what we saw in Game 1. More reminiscent to like late Game 1, I guess. This is weird. It's like almost we had 2 games in Game 1. One was just an Ogdatic versus Paleo. Last bit was like Orcust versus Paleo. Ooh, and now we're going to see a Danko Sekka come down on 3. That one, that's got to hurt just a little bit. It's got to hurt just a little bit, you know. Just get the Danko Sekka on 3. You got to love that. But now we're going to see Crescendo activate its other effect in Grave, which is going to banish itself to add a Dark Machine. And we're going to see it add the Symbol Skeleton. Good old Symbol Skeleton. Hasn't been a while. So he's going to swing in for 18 and 17 from Galatea and Danko Sekka. We're going to see Nightmare activate. That's going to target Danko Sekka here in main phase 2. And he's going to send the Brass Bombard, the black sheep of the Orcust archetype, but we're seeing him now. So that's going to be used to bring out the symbol. He's going to go for Ding, and that is going to actually be it for this match, since time is called. And I believe our Paleo player is going to just scoop there right as time is called, and it's going to result in a draw. So yeah, no real victor here. Obviously, as game 1 and 2 showed us, any particular deck is really not in favor. It's a very, very balanced, grindy matchup. Although it does seem like the Paleo deck can grind just a little bit better than the Ogdatic deck. But would have loved to see a game 3. Yeah, that is going to do it here. Unfortunately, we don't have draws often on the channel, but we do have one this time around. It's not surprising, again, with the 2 decks that were on the feature. So I hope you guys enjoyed. It was a long one. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Drop a comment as well. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. We're going to be doing a big giveaway soon for celebrating 20,000 subscribers. So thank you guys so much for the support. Thank you so much for watching. It's always Winter Kills signing out. We'll see you guys in the next one. And as always, I want to give a shout out to all of the YouTube members that go out of their way to support this channel. And of course, a special thanks to our Divine Level channel member. He's been here for a long time, and that is Cadillacs84. Thank you, man, so much for your continued and, of course, very generous support of the channel.